Hi, my name is Jessa Gumm. The title of my sermon is No Hope, and my scriptures are Genesis 22:2, Romans 4:18, Hebrews 11:19, and Genesis 22:17. Can I tell you a secret? I hang out with convicted felons. But there's this one in particular that I know more than the others. He loved Jack Daniels, which I used to call crazy alcohol. He started drinking at 13, got kicked out of 2 high schools, arrested for public intoxication, and underage drinking. Some nights, he would get so drunk, he would pass out in his car on the side of the road. And when his mom and dad came to pick him up, he would yell and scream that this world would be better off without him. That alcohol made him do and say some crazy things. One night, he was very drunk, over 3 times the legal limit, going 95 miles per hour and running from the police. He spun out of control and crashed. Death was certain, but he survived. At court, the judge said, "Young man, I don't see a very bright future for you." There was no hope. He got 5 years in prison. No hope. That's the subject of my sermon today. What do you do when your choices have put you in prison for 5 years? What do you do when life has killed your hopes and dreams? No hope. That's how Abraham felt in Genesis 22:2, when God said, "Take your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on a mountain that I will show you." Put yourself in Abraham's place for a moment. God promised him a son, and as he approached 100 years of age, there was still no son in sight. Maybe God had forgotten about him. But then, in a moment, everything changed. God opened up Sarah's womb, and Isaac was born. But now, years later, God had commanded him to kill his only son. There was no way out, no hope for a prosperous future. Maybe you're asking, "Jessa, how could I have hope? What could I do to resurrect my dead dreams?" Well, 2 things we can learn about hope from Abraham. Number 1, put your trust in God. In Star Wars, Princess Leia said, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." Though watching Star Wars movies may be entertaining, Hollywood cannot provide the hope that we need. That's what I love about Abraham. Paul writes in Romans 4:18 that against all hope, in hope, Abraham believed. As Abraham and Isaac climbed Mount Moriah, the father of our faith put his trust in an unknown and unseen voice. How could he have this kind of hope? Well, Hebrews 11:19 says, Abraham reasoned that God could raise the dead. Hope becomes reality when you put your trust in God. Now, let's go back to the story about my friend, the felon. In prison, he continued to walk in rebellion. One day, he got in a fight, and as a result, he was thrown into solitary confinement, broken and alone, in desperation. So, he called on to the God of his youth, the God he met at Sunday school, at Bible quiz, and at Trinity Christian School. When you have lost everything, call on God. And like Abraham, against all hope, put your trust in God. But my second point is, don't let your dreams die. God promised Abraham in Genesis 22:17 that his descendants would be as numerous as the stars in the sky. He waited 25 years after God's original promise of a son, yet he never gave up hope. Abraham was prepared to sacrifice his only son on an altar, yet he never let his dream die. You see, God heard my friend, the felon, deep in a solitary prison cell in the heart of Texas. And that day, he was forgiven. And because he came home to the God of hope, he began to dream again. That felon is my dad. He sits in this room on the front row. God resurrected his hopes and dreams. He started a ministry called Forgiven Felons. He opened up a halfway house for men and goes into prisons and jails everywhere, sharing his story to everyone who will listen. He started a podcast that is also heard in prisons all over the nation. I get to do that podcast with him, and one day, I'll get to go into those prisons and tell other felons about Jesus. J. Dango, my dad, put his trust in God. He never gave up hope. What about you? What's been left dead and buried in your life? Have you given up hope? Have y'all let your dreams die? Call on Jesus. Resurrection is on the way.